Aloha. Welcome to Netra's News. I'm Netra Halperin, and I'm really excited about the show this evening. We're going to be talking about hunger and homelessness, which is unfortunately a very big issue right now in the world, in this country, and in Maui. So we have some service providers here who are providing wonderful, really crucial services to those who need them. So first we've got Marie Thomas.
Hello.
Hello. She is the Development Director for Hale Kau Kau over at St. Teresa's. And then we've got Frank Cummings, who is the Maui County Services Director of Mental Health Kokua.
Good evening.
Good evening. So Marie, could you please tell me, what does Hale Kau Kau do?
Okay, I would love to tell you that. Hale Kau Kau, the mission is to alleviate hunger as best we can by providing nutritious meals to the homebound and the hungry in a safe and loving and supportive environment. So with all that being said, that was a lot of words, and we really feed the hungry.
Yeah.
And right now, because of the economy the way it is, and like you said, it's not just here, but we are feeding between 100 and 100 people on site at St. Teresa Church, where the Hale Kau Kau kitchen is in Kihei. 100 to 140 people every evening. That's men, women, and children.
Yeah.
And then in addition to that, we deliver between 40 and 50 and sometimes up to as many as 60 meals to the homebound elderly, sick, and disabled of South Maui.
Right.
And then the third prong of what we do is that we collaborate with the Kihei Hawaiian Church in North Kihei by helping them to have non-perishable food that they can use in their pantry, which they give out to 40 to 50 individuals and families on Fridays of every week.
Okay, so food boxes in addition.
Yep.
Well, that's great. And I did a video, I did some interviews there, you coordinated the whole thing, and we're going to show that video. I'm very pleased with hearing what the actual guests from Hale Kau Kau have to say. So, so Frank, tell me, what does Mental Health Kokua do, and especially in regards to this issue?
Mental Health Kokua is a nonprofit organization that works with people who have what's called serious and persistent mental illness, which essentially means those categories of mental illness that are the most pronounced: schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, major depression, serious illnesses such as these. And we provide a full range of services for people who have these problems. From what's called homeless outreach, where we actually go and find people who have serious mental illness, who are usually referred to us by sister agencies. Could be Hale Kau Kau or the shelter or Women Helping Women or a variety of different organizations. They refer people to us for evaluation, and then we help those people go through the evaluative process the state has that determines whether or not they're going to be eligible to receive services for, you know, whatever their disability happens to be. If they're found to be eligible, then that opens the door for a variety of kinds of programs that we offer, from residential housing, of which we have 48 beds throughout the area. We have case management for about 200 people, and we have psychosocial rehabilitation. It's a day treatment and support program for a number of people. So those are the core services that the organization provides, as well as many others that maybe we can talk about later.
Right. So let's show the Hale Kau Kau video. Here we are at Hale Kau Kau in the kitchen, and I'm going to talk to Jimmy, who is the manager of the kitchen.
Hale Kau Kau, it was funded in about 20 years now. We stay here. Yeah. And it's a good program for the, unfortunate, and it's good. A lot of people come and, just have something to eat and take care of their family and whatever they need to do, and, it's all good.
And how are the numbers going? Are there more than there were like 2 years ago?
Oh yeah, a lot more. There's like we do like about 150 a day now. Usually we did about 100 in the past couple months, but now we're doing, yeah, you can open up. Oh, excuse me.
So, and then the people who work here, aside from you, are they volunteers?
Yeah, all volunteers.
All volunteers.
Yeah. And we got some court order ones.
Oh, so it's community service.
Yeah.
I like doing this, volunteering.
What does it make you feel?
Good in heart. Here, we're snowbirds. I'm retired, and I hope you just keep working.
I'm Lana.
And tell me, why do you volunteer here?
I love volunteering here. I've been volunteering since maybe I was like 12.
What does it make you feel?
Really happy.
Hi. Would you like to talk to Netra's News?
Yes, I would talk to Netra's News. How are you? And hello, viewing public out there. Nice to see you. Come on, speed it up here. Time is money, folks. I think I'll pass today. Thank you. So, hi, Netra.
Hi.
Hi. And do you want me to just tell you why I'm here?
Yes.
I'm here because I appreciate that they give out a free meal to people that are hungry. And I don't have a whole lot of money in my budget because I've been on disability for a few years. And I'm still waiting for Social Security to come through and help me out that way. And once they do, I'll have my own place, invite people over and make food to serve to them. But in the meanwhile, I appreciate the Catholics' generosity in sharing their meals with us.
And you came to Maui, I think you said, to work at Valley Isle Motors.
That's correct, about 10 years ago.
And what was your position there?
I started off as a finance sales manager, and then I went to assistant sales manager, and basically just oversaw the salespeople and helped them close their sales and things like that.
And what kind of disability did you get?
Well, it was after I was there. I was not really feeling really good because I was going through some emotional trauma from going through a divorce, and so I decided to slow down and I went to BMW. And I was working as a salesman at BMW. I started having heart attacks. And so, excuse me, ultimately I wasn't really performing at work, and that sort of work is commission-based, so if you aren't performing, you're not earning money, but you're also not making your quota, and the job didn't last. So I asked my doctor, should I go on disability, and she said, no, I don't think I can really authorize anything like that, because they hadn't diagnosed what was wrong with me. And so excuse me, apparently I was able to work, so I figured I was eligible for unemployment, and I drew as much as I could until it ran out, waiting for extensions to get approved and so on, and tapped all my resources and got to the point where I qualified for financial help from the state in the form of Medicaid and food stamps. And at that point, when I was on Medicaid, I went to somebody other than the PPO that had not been able to diagnose me, and I got to one of the best in Hawaii, and he properly diagnosed me as having a rare congenital anomaly of my heart where I was missing one of the primary arteries that feed the ventricle. And they did surgery on me a year ago, and I'm great, but still having trouble getting back to work full time, and just can't make ends meet. So I enjoy the freebies.
And so would you say you're one of those persons who's caught in the gap?
Sort of.
That you're not like super disabled enough that it was easy to get disability, but you're still not necessarily in a place to get to work. Or could you get work if they gave you a car sales job?
No, I've been advised by all the doctors not to go back to that because of the stress and the hours. It's a very physical job. Most people think car salesmen sit around and smoke cigars and wait for suckers, but in reality, we're running from one side of the lot to the other all day long. We're on pavement all day long. It's a very, very grueling job. And the stress of not knowing whether you're going to get paid at the end of the week is monumental. And no.
And where are you staying?
I stay at, we call it Sally's. Salvation Army, 45 West Kamehameha in Kahului, and they're wonderful folks. They treat you extremely well. They give you a bed to sleep, or not a bed, but a space to set up your own bed. They have some mats and blankets and pillows and things like that they hand out. And they give you a space. You have to be in by a certain curfew hour of 8:30. Otherwise, if there's less people than the spaces, then they allow new people to come in. I'm currently in another gap with that. I went to a concert to enjoy our friend Kathy Zavada on Wednesday and couldn't make it back in time for my 8:30 curfew, and I haven't been able to get back in since because it's overflowing. And basically what they do is, if there's 2 spaces available and 5 guys that want to get in, you get to draw straws. And the others, there's really no provision. It's, good luck and stay safe. And that's really the best advice that they can give you.
So there's safety nets, but they're not quite comprehensive enough yet at this moment.
They're not comprehensive enough is exactly the word, and I know that we can do better. And I see other people down there that are, I've made friends with one man that was in a terrible accident where he literally had to have his face degloved to reconstruct his skull, and he has memory problems. And through his misfortune, he's ended up there, and he forgets when it's time to go to get the free lunch that Sally's offers at 11 o'clock every day. Yeah. Or he has all of his belongings in a pack, and he has a bicycle, and he'll wheel his bicycle to go somewhere and forget to pick up his pack and take it with him. Yeah. And it's really unfortunate for people like that. And the funny thing is he had some, I think, HUD housing, and through some misunderstanding, he was improperly incarcerated and lost all of that benefit, and now he's got an attorney trying to win it back. But he and I were sitting there talking. He says, when I get my place back, I had a 2-bedroom. You can come stay with me. Okay. That broke my heart. Yeah.
Thinking how he can give to others, and he's in such a difficult strait, so that's where his first thought is.
Amen.
Thank you. We really appreciate you being so honest and so open-hearted with us.
Thank you for the opportunity. Blessings. Blessings to you all.
The truth is that Hale Kau Kau is here because it fills a need that needs to be filled. It's orderly, it's friendly, it's always the same every day, and right now I need it. I'd rather just come here and do this, maybe for 2 or 3 weeks, maybe all month long, and then after that I'll be good to go, and then maybe I'll want to come back over here and do something for St. Teresa's myself. And that's the way that it works. I started to run out of money here in this state between 2007 and 2009. I thought that there was something going wrong with the economy in 2006, and so
you had foresight.
Yeah, I did.
You saw what was coming.
Yeah, there were others too that saw something or felt sure that there was going to be some kind of financial calamity soon. So knowing the other facts too, that nearly 1/2 of all Americans are under, if I'm correct with this, a 25% tax bracket, and then those that are paying 1/3 of their income currently too. So it should be a simple task for anyone that looks at the numbers to understand why Hale Kau Kau, why EBT cards, and so forth. People need to meet basic needs. You need eat the right kinds of food and get plenty of clean, fresh water throughout the day, and I'll sleep good tonight, whether I'm indoors or outdoors. But currently I am glad that Hale Kau Kau exists in just the capacity that it is.
They do a pretty good job. I have to admit that. That's one thing I liked about it, But that isn't the best thing I liked about it. I used to know Marie. They worked in there, and she was really hot. She was good. She did stuff, She did really good. She's a doer. Yeah. People that eat here, they eat here because out of necessity, they eat here, and they eat here because they have to. this fulfills something that nobody can give. And that's what it's about. That's what it's about.
Michelle, could you call us residentially challenged versus?
Excellent.
Very. I come here because I get hungry, and I don't get food stamps. I don't get any assistance at all. I don't. So I know that I can come here and have a nutritious meal. I know I can depend on this. And these guys have been awesome. I love these guys. I say thank you and I pray every day. So it's important that people know. And there's a lot of people out here that know that Hale Kau Kau exists because it's existed for a long time, but I used to do tile work. And because of my government, who decided to bail out the banks, instead of giving, if they'd have given every American citizen, if they'd have given them each even $150,000, we would have regenerated the economy. We would not be in the situation we are now. They would have come out.
There would be no foreclosures because
Those people would be spending their money, buying new cars, buying food, and so there I am. I got to stand up to my government. It's not the bank's fault. It's the government's fault. They're supposed to be working for me. So the bottom line is, nobody's doing tile work right now because they can't afford it. So, yeah, who can, or remodels, can't afford it. So
you would, if somebody said to you, Michelle, would you like to do this tile job right now? You'd be there in a heartbeat.
So I take half the pay.
You take half the pay even. You're ready, willing, and able to work. There just isn't the work.
There's no work.
And that's an excellent.
But so you know what I do? I recycle.
Recycling is a good thing. Recycling is a great way.
I'm keeping stuff out of the landfills, and I'm cleaning up the neighborhood.
Well, I came here today for two reasons. One, excuse me. One is to find Craig, who is a homeless person who I was going to hire to work with my neighbor, and then also I brought another homeless guy, Jimmy, who didn't wait online, so he left. And I usually bring people over here, and I hire a bunch of homeless people. So today, yeah, that's what I'm doing here today. I haven't been here since probably the last time we spoke.
So basically, this is your way of connecting with possible employees. So you sit with them, eat with them, and start chatting and saying, "Hey, I can do this job. Do you have any tile jobs?"
Do I actually have I do landscaping. We do tile. Why? She needs tile.
Because Michelle, she's ready, willing, and able to do tiling. And
we have a guy. Yeah.
She would take half the usual pay.
We have a guy that's doing painting. Right now, we're doing car mechanics. But I've been working with homeless people for the last 12 years here. And I usually volunteer on the holidays, New Year's, different times. And my friend Andy works there 3 times a week.
Wonderful.
But it's a good place to pick up day workers, and also the food is good. And it's very, South Maui is very benevolent. It's the only place like this.
Well, it's just a great lifesaver. I'm not homeless, but I don't really have enough to feed myself right now. So it really helps out a lot. It allows me to spend my time doing volunteer work for Akaku.
And so you're giving back to the community. It's just not a paid job. So it kind of balances out. You give back to the community for free, and then you get food for free. So it's kind of like the barter system, only not a direct barter.
Yeah, I do the video coverage of their Thanksgiving and Christmas dinners here at Hale Kau Kau.
I come here to eat at meals that we have at the at night because I do not I don't have that extra money for food, and I get $54 a month in food stamps. $54 a month in food stamps.
Oh, you only get $54 a month.
Well, I also incur 2 checks from the government also for Social Security Disability VA compensation.
Right. And so you served in the military?
Yes, ma'am.
And what was that like?
It was strenuous, running the physical aspect of it, and I was just in it for like 3 years, and I just did my time, and then I got out and went to school, and I pursued other opportunities.
And were things going a little smoother before, and then they kind of got difficult at a certain point?
Yes, I got into substance abuse and partying, and I just took back steps from the plan that I'd personally involved with.
I'd just like to add that some of us homeless are the sick homeless. I have advanced HIV/AIDS, and nobody will hire you once you tell them that. And I was down to my last $4. No, and down to my last $4. And if it wasn't for this place, this is my first meal today. It'll be my last meal today. So, and I'm camping out. Yeah, and I was given a bike just 2 days ago. Came here for a meal, and I stashed it. I didn't have a lock, and it was stolen. So, I'm trying to get by. I mean, God is good, and God's servants are good, and these are God's servants. And without them, those of us who still have a good attitude and positive thinking are struggling and trying to make, find our way. And these people help. And I'm really grateful for it. And I'm actually a trained potter. I attended the New York State College of Ceramics School of Art and Design at Alfred University. So I am an artist. But it's hard.
If you were sick, you could be making pots.
Yes. Actually, ceramic sculptures, figurative, fine ceramic art.
I volunteer because it's good to help the people who are less fortunate than you, and I feel it's really necessary for people to do that in today's society. And even though we should appreciate everything we have, we should also give that to the people who don't have what we have necessarily. Yeah.
Aloha, my name is Andy. Yes. Well, I've been here just a little over 2 years volunteering. I'm retired, and my wife was tired of seeing me around the house, so I thought this would be a good opportunity to help get out and do something, and it makes you feel good leaving here. And everybody comes in and gets food, are very appreciative, and it makes you feel good. And everybody I've ever volunteered with has been very nice.
We appreciate his voluntary work.
You appreciate it?
Yes, I do. I'm a member of this parish for 23 years, and I've been coming to Hale Kau Kau for that long. Every day, no matter what. And I come to this church every Sunday and ask for blessings for my brother, my sisters, and all them to help me who needs the help.
Wonderful.
Yes, ma'am. In the prayer in the Lord, He will never leave you wrong. He will always be there for you. Absolutely. So that's it. One thing to add to that? Yes. Amen. Amen. For the Hale Kau Kau people, we love you guys.
Joseph.
Joseph. And so why do you come here?
I come here for the fellowship, and I come here for my 1 meal a day.
Your 1 meal a day, and that'll keep you going.
Yes, it will.
Wonderful. And is there something that you want to tell the people that may not understand about
our current condition? Yes, the economy's bad. Okay, everything. I do construction. There ain't no construction going on. But this place is a blessing for a lot of people. Okay, and so the only thing I could say would be, donate with your heart. Donate with your heart and keep this place going, because this place is the only place some people have. And God bless this place.
Thank you so much. Okay, well, that was Hale Kau Kau according to the volunteers and the guests. So this is your first time seeing it. You were there kind of around helping out. What did you think of the video?
Well, I think it was a pretty good representation of the people that come there. Obviously, you didn't interview any women that day. There weren't as many women there.
Except for Michelle.
Yep. Oh, that's right, Michelle. Yep.
I asked.
There weren't a lot of women there. And sometimes people are very hesitant to be on camera.
Yeah.
In fact, those of us who are there more often were quite surprised at the number of people who are willing to talk to you.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times they're very shy about getting attention. They'd rather remain in the background.
Well, and it's a bit embarrassing to some people, you know, like, oh my God, I've gotten to the point where I can't even buy food. So it's kind of shameful. And everybody who wanted to speak spoke. And I think maybe people who originally didn't want to speak, they saw people speaking and they saw that person enjoying themselves, and then they realize, you know, I want to tell my story. I want people to know, because there's a lot of misinformation, obviously, out there about, you know, why do people eat at Hale Kau Kau? Why are people homeless? There's just a lot of misinformation. So.
And I think that they, you know, a lot of them do understand that sometimes we have issues with the neighbors, or they have issues with the neighbors, and they become fearful that something might happen to Hale Kau Kau, and they feel very strongly that we need to keep doing that, as do we.
Yeah.
So.
And you know, I know about I have spoken. Several of the neighbors have approached me and you know, said, you know, this is creating problems, and I said, well, you know, it's not about cutting back on services, it's about making more comprehensive, you know, because feeding people is, of course, one aspect, and then housing people is, of course, the other aspect. And we're not talking about that so much this show, but that's something that needs to happen. And so, you know, everybody in the community that are working on this are trying their best, but it hasn't gotten there yet.
Yeah, that's true.
So what was your reaction, Frank?
I think they do a fantastic job, and we're very lucky to have them. As I said earlier, we sometimes get referrals, you know, from places like your place, just simply because they identify people that have a more serious condition that need our kinds of services. So, fortunately, we have 48 beds, you know, here on Maui to be able to actually house people that need short-term transitional housing. So that helps out a great deal.
Are those beds filled most of the time?
We're at maximum, yes. Yeah, and we of course we establish wait lists and try to work with people in terms of what the need is and the greatest need, you know, so forth. But there aren't enough beds.
No.
You know, there aren't enough variety in terms of different kinds of treatment beds. And of course it impacts many other situations that Netra, I know you're familiar with in terms of prisons and so forth.
Right, exactly. Yeah, that's what I was just thinking of, is that there's certainly not enough substance abuse treatment, you know, and as I've mentioned many times, that's pretty much what's filling our prisons up, is people, you know, that have drug and alcohol abuse issues. And, you know, that's a very expensive and inappropriate way. You know, it's like somebody has cancer and you give them, you know, treatment for, you know, whatever, encephalitis. It's just inappropriate. So it's just a real shame. So what would you say about the mentally ill, the seriously mentally ill and homelessness? Because I know that's kind of what's considered the chronic, amongst the chronic homeless.
Well, the good news is we have a facility. We're a statewide organization. We have a facility on Oahu called Safe Haven. Okay. And that facility is right downtown. Okay, it's been there for 15 years.
Okay. Where exactly? Because I worked at the Ledge for 2 years in a row.
It's next to the bank. So
Bank of Hawaii?
Yeah.
Okay.
So what we have there is a situation where we're taking people right off the street.
Okay.
Okay. Stabilizing them. You know, getting them stable with their medications if that's what's necessary. It's not always necessary, but it's most often necessary. And then working with them and working with whatever the issues happen to be that, you know, are complicating and making their lives difficult. And what we find after a period of time, we've done some pretty, you know, some good recidivism studies about, you know, who's coming back, you know. And we find that once we establish the stability and people complete the program, that about 83% we never see again.
Okay, so that's a successful program.
It's absolutely successful. It's been in existence for a long time, so it can be done. Of course, you know, like all programs, you have to establish yourself, and there are always going to be some people that are going to say, well, you're enabling and you're not really, helping, but that's the rarity rather than, that's the exception rather than the rule.
That's good. That's good. And I'm familiar with, I worked for the chair of housing in the House, in the State House, Representative Cabanilla, and what she was noticing is a lot of NIMBY. Not in my backyard aspects. And there was a project in Chinatown, I think it was maybe, 2010, 2009, where they actually got I think it's like $8 million to build a Housing First project. And the neighborhood of Chinatown went against it and stopped it. And now Chinatown still has many homeless people sleeping right in the street. It smells, it's a very, very bad situation. And so here's a situation where the money was there. And I want to show a video on Housing First. It's about the concept of Housing First, that the amount of services that homeless people use is more than actually paying their rent. Especially when you start getting into emergency room visits, so then there's the food, and then the emergency room visits.
Safety and
everything. If they have to go to jail, that's $100 a day. $100 a day. So $100 a day times 30, that's $3,000. Wouldn't you love to have $3,000 to do whatever you wanted with? So that's where the money is being misappropriated. And so the money's there. So anyway, we'll be watching that video in a bit. So you're familiar with we talked about that the other day, the Housing First program.
Yeah. In our own way, I think, really what Mental Health Kokua does is something very similar to that, in that we bring people into housing, for a relatively short period of time. It could be 3 months, it could be 6 months, it could be up to a year if that much time is needed.
Okay.
But what we do is we help get them stable, and then we surround them with services that help them remain stable, so that as they leave, then they leave to another stable kind of a situation where they can continue their recovery.
Okay.
So they don't end up recycling back.
That's wonderful.
And which is what you find with, as you were indicating, the homeless population.
And when they cycle out, do you help them find an apartment and have benefits? And basically you set it pretty much up that it's just kind of the momentum will keep going.
That's the whole intent, is to really identify whatever it is it's going to take so that they can sustain the recovery that they've already experienced, and then take it to the next level in terms of independence so that they can be more self-reliant and self-supporting. And sometimes that has to do with benefits and various types of entitlement programs. Other times it has nothing to do with entitlement programs. It has to do with job training. It has to do with actually getting a job, returning to family, or finding and reuniting with family that for whatever reason they've gotten dislocated from.
Okay.
That's oftentimes a huge problem with people. Particularly with serious mental illness, there's a real stigma, obviously, attached to mental illness, and oftentimes it takes somebody getting into recovery to really undo some of the stigma that's come with that situation. So, and we find all the time people leaving and reuniting, and it makes for a continued positive citizen as opposed to somebody who's dependent upon the system.
Right, absolutely. And I guess I said the benefits thing because right now, even people who are not mentally ill, not drug addicts, not alcoholics, perfectly functional people can't get jobs.
Right.
And can't pay their bills. And that's another thing that I'm noticing. Okay, so we're going to try the video again.
Imagine your best day ever, and you'll understand what Doretha Cotton is feeling, holding the keys to her first apartment in 20 years.
This is the key to my new mansion.
Until this very morning, Doretha was homeless on the streets of Washington, mentally ill and alcoholic, part of America's unsolvable problem.
Need some help getting up?
Yeah. Unsolvable until Sam Semberis turned the usual approach to homelessness upside down.
Housing first, and then treatment and sobriety.
Instead of the old way, which required the homeless to get clean or sober first before getting an apartment, Sam starts with the apartment.
The treatment for homelessness is housing. So we're simply...
Here's an apartment.
Here's an apartment. Housing is the cure to homelessness. It's that simple.
Do you think having this apartment changes you in some way?
Yes, it makes me feel that I can be independent and responsible, that I can be a good neighbor.
The apartment isn't completely free. Doretha has to pay part of her disability benefits for rent and has to agree to this.
Hey, Miss Kine. Hello.
Intensive in-home visits from nurses, social workers, and drug counselors, all of them sent by Sam's program, Pathways to Housing.
God bless you.
You're welcome.
You give it to them.
Sam brushes off criticism he's made it too easy on the homeless. He argues Housing First works for less. Chronically homeless people now cost taxpayers $40,000 a year, including shelters, jail time, and emergency room visits. His way costs $22,000.
Here's a program for $22,000 that gives person housing and services that ends their homelessness and puts them on their way to getting better.
Housing First has documented an 85% success rate at keeping the chronically homeless off the streets.
Let's give people housing.
It's now official policy in more than 150 cities, including Washington.
It's actually cheaper than it is to run this shelter system, and a lot better for the people who are in it.
I don't want to drink. I don't want to solicit, panhandle. I don't have to do these things anymore.
You mesh this, like, who is it?
When we left Doretha, her counselor was teaching her how to use the intercom. But it's Sam who's teaching how you solve the unsolvable.
I'm so happy.
Like this.
Oh, sweet home.
Wyatt Andrews, CBS News, Washington.
San Francisco is exploring a controversial method to get homeless alcoholics off the streets and into housing. The plan would house them with taxpayer dollars and allow them to continue drinking. It's an idea that's generating a lot of talk. ABC 7's Carolyn Tyler is in the newsroom with more on this plan. Carolyn?
Well, it's modeled after a program in Seattle where 75 units of housing opened 5 years ago. San Francisco streets are home to dozens of chronic alcoholics who are clogging the emergency medical system and the city's jails. For example, Paul Sanchez, a self-described drunk we met a few years ago, had been arrested 128 times and hospitalized 50. Supervisor Bevan Dufty thinks there might be a better approach, so-called wet housing, modeled after this project in Seattle, where homeless alcoholics are allowed to live and keep on drinking.
Providing a medically supervised, safe living environment in which people who are chronic inebriates, who are probably not going to change in their lifetimes, have the ability to live safely, but also don't draw on the public resources.
A 3-year study by San Francisco's health department found 225 of the worst offenders accounted for more than 1,900 EMS pickups and spent more than 2,000 days at SF General Hospital. In all, their treatment cost taxpayers $13.5 million a year.
It is not a good idea. It's bizarre.
Dr. Eugene Schoenfeld has worked in the field of addiction medicine for more than 40 years.
The best solution would be to have them hospitalized involuntarily if necessary and detoxified.
He believes the wet house allows severe alcoholics to keep killing themselves. On the face of it, it seems...
enabling?
Yes.
Yeah, it is. But so is methadone maintenance.
Mayor Gavin Newsom supports Seattle's concept.
And at least this gets people through the door, and then you can start saying, hey, we're here for you. Right now you have people that aren't going through any doors, that are all out in the streets and sidewalks, and they're hard to pull in. This may actually help save some lives, reduce costs to taxpayers.
Seattle officials say their program saved $4 million the first year alone, and a study by the Journal of the American Medical Association verified some cost savings as well as a drop in alcohol consumption by the homeless. Supervisor Dufty heads there for a look next week. In the newsroom, Carolyn Tyler, ABC 7 News.
All right, thank you, Carolyn.
Okay. So what do
cool.
you think about that video?
Well, that's the first time I've seen it, so it's very impressive. And as Frank said, the statistics are very close to his. 85% not going back on the street.
Yeah.
That would be tremendous.
Yeah.
I could begin to put Hale Kau Kau out of business, which would be just fine with us.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Unfortunately, the statistics have gone the other way. We've seen more people come the past many years. You know, just this past year, it's been just from July until now. We're feeding over 13% more people than we were the year before.
Yeah.
So so far, you know, we're not at that position, but that's really where it needs to go. And one of the things that we're looking at Hale Kau Kau is to begin to put into place a way for us to help the people more, not just feed them.
Yeah.
We've been challenged by our executive director to take a look at, you know, do you want to just keep feeding people forever and maybe feeding more people all the time, or do you want to try to help them?
Right.
And it all, of course, takes money and people and time, but that's one of the directions that we're going, is to be able to collaborate more intensively with other social services agencies to be able to get the people the help that they need to get on the right road so that they can become more independent.
Right. And to me, it's about thinking outside the box. You know, again, it's like with the prison thing. We can just like lock them all up, or we can give them substance abuse treatment. We could look at, you know, actually housing them. It's like, oh, well, the taxpayer shouldn't pay people's rent. Well, they're paying a whole lot more now. And it's about, to me, you know, looking realistically at the situation instead of getting into, you know, either punishment or, oh, we don't want to be too nice, or, you know, whatever barriers people have in their minds, or just they just hadn't thought of it yet, but now it's been thought of.
Yep.
And okay, so there's another video called Wet Housing. So it's sort of going on the same theme.
My goodness! I forgot we even took this picture. Keep the faith. You have a real purpose in this life. You can do anything. Stay positive. We love you, your family. Mom, Rick, Mark, Claude, Becky, and Mark. For 17 years, I lived the street life. I was a crack addict and alcoholic. I slept on park benches, on concrete. And I was pretty much feeling like my life was over. That's how I was going to die. I was going to die in the street. And I was sleeping on a spot near McDonald's on New York Avenue in Washington, D.C. A program called Pathways to Housing came and woke me up one night. It was on February the 8th, and I'll never forget, 3 years ago, and said, tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock, pack your things. We're coming to get you, and we're taking you off the street. And after being on the street for 17 years, my first thought was like, yeah, right, I'm going off the street. They're going to give me an apartment out of nowhere. I didn't apply for housing. I didn't apply for anything. And the next day at 10 o'clock, they were there. And look at me now. You would never know it. What makes them so unique is even if you do slip and fall, even if you do get high, even if you do drink, they're not going to take your keys from you. You can call them and tell them what you did, and all they're going to say is dust yourself off and try again. We're not going to leave you. We've got you. We've got your back. Unconditionally, we're going to be here for you. We love you. It doesn't matter how nice it is. I don't have to go into the soup kitchen. I can just heat up something in my microwave and cook. I love it. Most people don't realize that we are human beings just like you. People look down on homeless people. People look down on people addicted to drugs. People don't pay us any attention, like we're nothing, like we're not even there, like we're not existent. And we're real humans with real feelings that really want to live life and just don't know how and don't have the support system. And it's so sad because that could be your mother, sister, brother, father, son, daughter, mother. You know, it could be someone that you truly compassionately love. And we are somebody's mother, sister, and daughter, father, brother, and son, and people need to realize that.
Okay, so what do you think about that video?
Well, one of the reasons that I got involved with Hale Kau Kau originally, besides the fact that I came over to volunteer because I happened to be in Maui and didn't have a lot to do and thought, oh, maybe I could help out with something. And they said, well, go work at Hale Kau Kau. But as I looked at it, I thought, you know what, that really could be, as that woman said, that really could be my daughter, it could be my mother, it could be any of our relatives, friends. And what's the statistic? Most people are only 2 paychecks away from being homeless themselves.
Or less.
So, yeah. So, I think this putting people in homes looks wonderful.
And I think it's getting worse. I mean, I don't think this, like there was a recession and then it's over. It's kind of the new normal now. And so I think, I mean, I talk on other shows about, well, let's change the system, but, for now, let's just work on our community and how we can help people. So what was your response to that video?
It's the statistics bear it out that it's helpful. It's the Department of Justice actually came to Hawaii about, I think 4 years ago. They finally left, and they were here for 5 years. And they instituted the concept of wet, damp, and dry houses.
Okay.
So I'm very familiar with that, in terms of how you operate a home where you can allow someone to continue to use substances. Now, we of course, do very little of that currently, okay, because of the huge number of people that we need to try to accommodate in some way, okay? But there are, and I've seen programs that have been very effective, in the damp area, not the wet area. The wet area works in terms of comparing it to the cost of putting somebody in a hospital, okay,
of course.
or ending that continuing cycle through the hospital. There's no comparison. The cost, it's $1,200 a day to be hospitalized.
Oh my
okay?
God! Oh my God!
So you sort of have to, if you're just looking at the money end of it, obviously it's going to be much more expensive to have somebody in a hospital rotating through, relapsing, overdosing, et cetera, and addressing all of the health-related issues that go with that. So, I guess what I'm trying to say is that you have to decide where you're going to put the fulcrum. Okay?
Right, exactly.
And it's, there's a certain population of people. This girl that we just saw her story, 16, 17 years on the street. It may very well be that's the best she can do. Okay, in terms of living in at least she has a place to live. At least she has some people around her that are going to try to help care for her. It may very well be that she's somebody who, for whatever reason, cannot get sober. Okay, so is it better to have her, in a situation where she's continuing to try, or is it better to throw her to the street and have her recycle through the emergency room, or provide housing for her in the jail, which I'm sure she's been through that situation. I would imagine,
of course,
if she's been on the street for 16 years, and that hasn't been effective either. So it's another vehicle for trying to get at what you need to get at in terms of intervention that may end up being very beneficial for her. Hopefully it will be. But the bulk of my experience is working with people that really don't need that level of care. Okay. And fortunately, don't need that level of care. We're not at that point with a lot of people here on Maui. That's not to say that we don't have people that would certainly qualify for that level of care here on Maui. But in terms of the overall numbers, it's not as great. So, we're trying our darndest to be able to, work with people that want to maintain sobriety, that want to stay off drugs, that want to, engage in recovery, okay, that want to end that pattern, okay, and haven't gotten to the point that this young girl's gotten to in her life.
And there's a comment that people make to me sometimes is, well, only a person themselves can decide, and people need to want to get sober. And on some level, maybe some macro spiritual level, that's true, but that's not really the level that the people that make the policies are really, that's not their kuleana, basically. So what I look at as, and this is just a personal philosophical belief, I believe that every human being wants to be happy, wants to be good. But the amount of trauma that people have, the physical aspects, you know, drugs and alcohol are very physically addicting. You know, your body gets very depleted, and so it's very difficult to get off that physical level. The issue of hope, you know, people feeling like there's hope. I mean, there's so many things, and I just know, like what we're talking about, good programs have 83, 85% success rates. And so if in a community there's a lot of people that aren't getting better, so to speak, or going back to prison, staying on the street, you know, not getting over their addictions, you know, we don't have control over the, you know, the spiritual aspect of whether they're, you know, they're ready to change, but we do have control over what services are offered, or what, you know, what we use our tax dollars for, basically. And all the facts show that it's kind of interesting, because sometimes people have, like, oh, there's the liberal bleeding heart and then the fiscally conservative, but in reality they're actually exactly the same. That it's actually more compassionate to put this woman in housing, and it's more fiscally conservative. And so in all of these things, the fiscally conservative is actually the same as the more compassionate. It just works better.
That's neat.
So what else do you feel like Maui could add?
Good question. I think from when we were talking before, I just think that the services that are available, there are good services that are available, but they aren't, you know, there's the economy is such that a lot of services have had to be cut back, and that isn't a favorable thing.
Yeah.
Excuse me. So the services that are needed, for example, we were talking earlier about inpatient and outpatient substance abuse treatment, and you know, that seems to be a crying need here on Maui.
It's true.
And I imagine, you know, I didn't even realize that mental health Kokua would be somebody that we could use and refer to for that particular thing.
Right.
So that's good to know. And which brings up probably one of the things we need is more interaction between the agencies, so that we all know how we can help each other.
Exactly. And like, for instance, going over to the services being cut, like for instance, part of I've been talking about the jail lately, and I've been saying I'm not in favor of the jail, because that's all pre-trial people, and they have not even been convicted of a crime, and they are being held because the bail is set super high. And if it were more reasonable, they could go to the ICE project. They could go to Aloha House. And then we don't need a big jail. We don't need a big jail. We need to deal with the people, again, that have, it's the drug and alcohol abuse issues that are really such a huge problem. And how does that affect Hale Kau Kau? Does, obviously it's a wet dining room. I mean, anybody comes, you don't, you know, test or check or, you know, is there ever a problem, or is it just, you know, you can just kind of tell someone's been drinking, but it's,
we don't ask any questions. That's one of the tenets of our program, is that if you're hungry, you can come and eat, and we will not ask questions. If people are out of hand, if a guest comes and they cause problems, then they're asked to leave. We have security on site every evening to be sure that it's one of our big things is that we want people to be able to come there and to feel comfortable. We want women and children to be able to come and feel safe.
Right.
And so if there are people who cause a problem, then we do have to do something about that. And the Maui police have been very, very cooperative with us, and you know, they come and help us when we need them.
Right.
But
That's good.
generally speaking, it's very calm. It's almost like a respite in their day, which is from what you hear about what these people go through. You know, and again, I just want to make a point that the people we feed are not all homeless. There was a man in the film that talked about how he's not homeless, but people here, it's so expensive to live that they may be able to pay rent and have a place to live, but they, particularly by the end of the month, they don't have any way to buy food, and so they come and eat with us. So, you know, I just think that's important to know too. It isn't all homeless people who, you know, we get. I think it's sad when we hear that people say, "Oh, it's people who don't want to do any better than that. They want to be in that position," and
it's just so.
Yeah, it's sad.
If you just look at the math, I mean, a minimum wage job, which pretty much many retail fast food jobs pay $7.25 an hour. If you add that up, 40 hours a week. And then you take out taxes, I figured out it's about $875. Well, an apartment, I haven't seen any apartments for under $700. And then, okay, so let's see, you've got now $175 to buy food, and a loaf of bread is $7. You know, a carton of milk, I don't know, it's $5. I mean, anyway, it's just way too expensive, everything. So. Now is your time for both of you to tell the community what do you want. So I'll go with you first, Frank. What do you want to let the community know? So you can just talk to the camera.
Well, I'm going to make it really simple. What I would like to offer is our number, and leave it up to your audience to determine what it is that they would really like to do. And I'll give you some ideas about what would be helpful. Money is helpful, obviously, okay? Time in terms of willingness to volunteer is helpful, okay? We have 5 different facilities. Maintaining those facilities is just like maintaining your own house, because we're housing people. So all of the things that have to do with housing somebody, we need help with. You know, electricity would be very helpful.
Yeah.
If we could have somebody or a group sponsor some of our housing, that'd be fantastic. Okay. If people are interested in charitable contributions and trust situations, you know, we'd certainly like to talk with attorneys that are setting up that kind of situation in perpetuity for people that want to pass on services to people, and you know, as a result of maybe having a family member contribute to us. So those are some ideas, and if I'm offering my my number to you to give me a call at 244-7405, and I'd love to explore with any of your listeners what they might want to do to help us out.
Okay, so you have a couple seconds to say your thing.
Well, as Frank mentioned, we can at Hale Kau Kau we can always use food. That he didn't mention that. We can use food. We could use your time as a volunteer, and of course we can always use money. Our phone number is 875-8754.
Okay, thank you so much, and thank you for coming to Netra's News, and we hope to see you in 2 weeks.